The following is rated S for spoilers.
Never. I'll never turn to the dark side. You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Hello there, and welcome to the Popcorn Hangover. My name is Alex.
My name is Graham.
And today we are going to be discussing Star Wars and asking the question, is this the best cinematic universe of all time? I think we have some varying opinions on this, so I think it'll be a fun conversation.
Yeah.
How you doing this week, Graham?
Doing good, man. It's been a busy week.
It has been a busy week, and it's not going to get any less busy.
No. Yeah, we got so much stuff lined up, especially through next week.
Yes, next week's going to be crazy. We got this. We have a Moon Knight finale. We have Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
So we got some exciting things coming up. But today we are celebrating May the 4th with a special Star Wars episode because we're a bunch of nerds and we like Star Wars.
A little bit.
So, I mean, I think both of us have been watching Star Wars like our entire lives.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think that was like one of the first... That was Star Wars is probably one of the first like little like franchises I was like introduced to alongside Marvel. Because like growing up, like I did not watch like Harry Potter or like anything like that. Yeah, I mean Star Wars we were allowed to like I was able to watch like right off the bat. Which to preface, like I was homeschooled, so like I was not allowed to watch certain things. So Star Wars was like one of the high notes for me growing up. But no, and then just carrying through like growing up as teenager and adulthood, and I'm still just watching them as often as
and they
frequently.
just got worse and worse and worse.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
I feel like I don't even really remember watching. I remember watching the original trilogy more than I remember watching the prequels as a kid, which is weird because the prequels are definitely more entertaining as like a 5-year-old. But yeah, I really like Star Wars. I remember watching the Clone Wars when it aired. Like I saw like the commercial stuff like on Cartoon Network, and like I went and sat in like my parents' bed and watched it on their crappy TV, and like I watched the whole first season like whenever it came out. So yeah, we are obviously big Star Wars fans. What is your favorite Star Wars movie?
So I really don't know why, because I bet if I rewatched it and really like looked at my reasoning for it, because I don't really have a reason for it. It's just I honestly know my reason for it was Jango Fett. So this, the second one in the prequels, we're looking at Attack of the Clones. That has always been my favorite, just solely because of like Jango Fett and like.
But like Boba Fett's cooler.
He is cooler, but like the fight scene between him and Obi-Wan in the rain, like that was so hardcore. Like I don't know, it probably wasn't honestly like. It's been a minute since I've actually watched that movie. If I were to go back and watch it, I'd be like, yikes.
I feel like
that's what I'm holding on to. But that is what I'm holding on to.
I feel like of all the fight scenes, that's like the weakest one. Like you have like the arena, like the whole like.
Well, no, yeah, and he that'll happen too.
And Django like jumped down there and got his head chopped off. Like,
no, I know,
because he's lame.
Yeah, I'm just no, I know. I, like compared to see what all these like Mandalorians do now, and I'm just like this the one that was like literally at the top of all Mandalorians at one point was like not at one point, but like. Yeah, he just didn't hold up well, but no, so that for some reason, that is still my favorite movie out of the 6 that I like to.
I feel like that's like sacrilegious.
It kind of is.
It is like in preparation for this episode, I went and I watched I don't know, I guess you can call it like the original saga, like the first 6.
4 through 6. You watched like all 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
I prefer to pretend that the sequel trilogy didn't happen.
I wish it did not.
So I watched the first 6 again, and like when I got to episode 2, it was just like I'm laughing just because it's so just bad. The dialogue is bad. The
acting's terrible.
It's all just
it wasn't written well. No, yeah, I mean it's. And here's the thing, I think it was one of the first we saw because like we watched them in order growing up. So it was like 1, 2. 2, I think I just probably just drawn to like I said like Django and like the arena battle stuff. There was more that I kind of like grabbed onto there, and obviously like Obi-Wan and Anakin's fight in like episode 3, like that was like a stable moment too. But like, yeah, I think for some reason episode 2 I just like held on to.
I think my dad raised me right and showed me the original trilogy first.
You're lucky.
And I think I want to say that like I remember episode 3 coming out, even though I would have been.
Were you even alive? When did that come out?
I was definitely alive. It came out in like what 2003, I think.
Oh, I don't
know. I was definitely like I don't know. For some reason, I have a memory of it coming out. I didn't like see it in theaters, but I don't know. I feel like I remember that. Came out in 2005, so I would have been like 4.
Oh shoot. Okay, yeah.
But still, I feel like being a 4-year-old and remembering. I don't know. But yeah, like I grew up on the original trilogy, so like those 3 are like my top. I think if I had to rank all the Star Wars movies, I would do Empire as my number 1, and then A New Hope as my number 2, and then Rogue One as my number 3. So
you're gonna put the story movies in like on
yes,
in there too?
I love Rogue One. I think that is
it was great,
amazing.
Yeah,
and I think that was we'll get into it a little later, but I think that was kind of like the start to this really becoming a fleshed out universe as opposed to just a saga.
Yeah.
What would you rank like your top 3? So number 1 is Attack of the Clones.
Yeah. Number 1, Attack of the Clones. I'd probably do.
If you say Phantom Menace,
absolutely
we're
not.
cutting.
I mean, like, trust me, I love Darth Maul. Don't get me wrong. Like, and Qui-Gon Jinn, like Liam Neeson is like that. Honestly, like, no, it's not my top 3. I would probably say Attack of the Clones, and then A New Hope, and then.
You're putting a lot of pressure on this.
I know, and it's not. I mean, honestly,
if it is Phantom Menace, it's okay.
It's not.
I'll forgive you.
I mean, honestly, I'd probably have like Episode 3, then Phantom Menace, and then
people love Revenge of the Sith, and I never understood it, but I was watching it today, and like it was actually like really entertaining. It's not great, but like it was. I don't know. It's an interesting idea.
Yeah,
I'll put it that way. And I think part of it is I'm a huge fan of the Clone Wars, and I think the prequel trilogy just shouldn't have happened like the way it did. Just because Phantom Menace is literally like the prequel to the prequels. Like it has nothing to do with anything, other than look, here's Anakin as a kid for a couple minutes, and that's it. I feel like we should have gotten the Clone Wars condensed into 3 movies. Yeah. Especially like with the Siege of Mandalore and watching like supercuts people have done where they line up Siege of Mandalore and Revenge of the Sith. Like it just, that story. Yeah. It's so good. There are people who refuse to watch the Clone Wars, and I always say like, just go watch the last 4 episodes.
That was actually me. I never, growing up, cause like I had a weird thing with cartoon shows. I could not get into them. I couldn't because I like knew to a certain point like it wasn't real. Like I did not like animated stuff, which was so stupid. But
it's dumb because the prequels are entirely animated. Why they even hired actors, I don't know, because they were just walking around on like
green screen
in a green block in a green box. Like
yeah. But no, so like it's I could never get into the animated shows. Like honestly, I started Bad Batch when that came out. And I was like, yo, this is dope. And then I watched all the Clone Wars like right after. And I stopped Bad Batch. I did not finish Bad Batch.
Really?
I finished it now, but I waited until after I was done with Clone Wars and then I finished it. Because like something hit me too. And I was like, I've seen like I know what I'm watching. And then I was like, oh, I never finished that. I was like, I need to go back and finish that. And I picked up and I was like, I understand so much more now. But
Bad Batch was incredible because... Especially if you go watch like the first episode of Clone Wars, it looks like garbage.
Yeah.
And then you watch like the Bad Batch, and there are shots in there that look like
insane.
They had an actual camera, and they like it. Like there are some where I just like, I don't know. It's just how is this animated?
They're on a completely different level.
It's on a totally new level. It's insane what they've done with Bad Batch.
What was the other animated?
Rebels.
Yeah, I never watched that. I kind of wish I did because I've seen clips from it.
Rebels is a lot more.
Thrawn was in Rebels, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's
Rebels is a lot more childish. Like it's Clone Wars is like made for kids, but it's also incredibly dark at times.
Yeah, and it's like detailed and it's got like things you pick up
like
on.
it's definitely a kid show. Like you have your stupid droid episodes and things, but like Rebels is more kid friendly because Disney made it, but it's still incredible. Yeah. Like just it tackles like the start of the rebellion and I don't know, it builds on the Clone Wars, and just the arcs in that show are incredible.
Yeah.
It's Rebels is also, it's not quite Clone Wars tier.
Yeah.
But it is very good.
And like everything I've heard so far with like Ezra's character, like I would love to see that in live action. I think that's probably what some of the shows are going to lead towards.
I think that's what Ahsoka is going to be about.
That's what I really need to get caught up on. Yeah.
So the question at hand here is this the best cinematic universe of all time? And when I pitched this idea to you, you were like, sure, that sounds like a cool topic. The answer is no. Yeah. And I was like, well, I think the answer is yes. Why do you say no? I mean, I have a feeling I know why, but
well, yeah, I mean, you know why? Like, honestly,
the elephant's in the room.
Yeah, it's honestly just, I think just because of the connection between like the Marvel universe has had it set up for, like, I guess it hasn't necessarily been around for longer. Because it started with Iron Man, so no, it's not even close. But I feel like they've done more compared to what Star Wars has content-wise. They've also, I feel like, expanded, and like they have more of a universe to expand to. So comparing to what we're looking at cinematic universe-wise, like the future, in my opinion, is a little bit brighter with Marvel. And also I feel like it's expanded a little more. Mm-hmm. And again, I definitely favorite Marvel 100% over like Star Wars when it comes to some things. Like I love this universe, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But also like I wouldn't say like, because a lot of people are really, really, really picky. Because like everyone knows like you have superheroes and then you have like your sci-fi stuff. If people are like, oh, Star Wars or Star Trek, which one is that? Like there's like there are other things kind of going back and forth with that. Mm-hmm. And so like I wouldn't say this is the best cinematic universe. It's a great one. It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing. But I mean, Marvel is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you have to give credit where credit. Like, I think the MCU is incredible, and what they've accomplished is insane. And I think, I don't think you can call Star Wars a cinematic universe pre-Marvel. I mean, when you have the original trilogy in the prequels, that was a saga,
was a franchise
of movies,
right?
So I feel like I said earlier, like I feel like with the inclusion of Rogue One, in terms of the movie side, I think that's where, in my opinion, things really kind of kicked off. And because
that was really the first thing that we've seen, like movie wise, that was like connected in a storyline, like in a timeline we've already seen.
Right.
But it was totally like
without it being
exactly
a traditional like sequel.
Right.
But I mean, we also had Clone Wars, and which was involved. And I think the hard thing with this conversation too is like keeping it to cinematic universe, because I was trying to think of how to phrase it in a way where we could talk about like the novels and the comic books and the Christmas special, but
we don't talk about the Christmas special.
We don't want to talk. We don't need to talk about that. But like, I mean, I think if you did include the writing and stuff and like the books and comics and everything, I feel like without a doubt it has to be better than the MCU just because it has more content. I think in that regard it would have more content.
Because the majority of like especially like when it comes to like the novels, but also the comics, like a lot of that is considered canon to what we've seen and storylines. So that's fair, because like Marvel comics are, I mean, it's every other one's like a story. I mean, it's a hero, it's a villain, it's just a story in itself. It doesn't relate to like really much of what we see on screen, like in the actual cinematic
the MCU
universe.
Is kind of is taking inspiration from
right, and they do things really well, and they don't really string far off of that stuff. But I would not consider comics necessarily as a fair. If you're putting two and two together, Star Wars would take the win on that for sure.
All I want. All that I want, I will die happy, is if we can get a Darth Vader, preferably a show, but I'd take a movie as well, that follows Disney's Darth Vader run, or Marvel's Darth Vader run from, I think, 2018. It was so good. Like, it picks up right after Revenge of the Sith, and Palpatine sends Vader on his first mission is to go build a new lightsaber. Or not to build one, to go find a new one. And he has to kill a Jedi and take his lightsaber. That's the only way. So like he breaks onto one of his own ships, and they had a bunch of dead Jedi and they had a bunch of lightsabers, and he picked them up and he started just massacring all these clones, and then drops the lightsabers and then carries on with his mission because he had to kill a Jedi to get it. Like stuff like that. Or there was one arc where he took a Tarkin out into a field, and he said, give me 24 hours and then hunt me down, and do not hesitate. Like, kill on sight. Like, you are trying to kill me. If you don't, I will know and I will kill you. And they did it so he could figure out what his weakness was. And like, so it's just this whole arc where like the entire empire is hunting down Darth Vader just so he can figure out if he had a weakness.
Holy crap.
Yeah, like, it was, I don't know, it was super,
That's
it was
insane.
so well written. It was so good. That's all I really want.
Yeah. I would love to see like if they actually like showed like just like some like unfiltered power of like, because Darth Vader is like insane.
He's
like he
is
is
the most powerful Force user of all time. Even Palpatine says that Darth Vader is more powerful than him.
Right. And so that's why I'm like, yeah, if we could see that, especially live action, my gosh, because we've seen some things.
I'd like to see more modern live action Vader, because in the original trilogy they were limited with what they could do.
Right.
And so I would really like to see more like Rogue One style Vader, where it's just terrifying.
Intense. Yeah. That door opens and my gosh, dude.
But yeah. So, I mean, I don't think it's fair, because we're using the term cinematic universe. I don't think it's fair to include that kind of stuff in this conversation. But I think reason I also included of all time, is because I think maybe, yes, right now the MCU may be considered the greatest, but I think 20 years from now, I think looking back on what Star Wars has done and how all of these movies have taken the difference between Star Wars and the MCU is the MCU has been one after the other.
Right.
They have not had a break except for like COVID.
Right.
Like the world literally forced them to take a break.
Yeah.
Whereas with Star Wars, we've
gone years,
30 years between New Hope and Phantom Menace, and then I don't know, when did Force Awakens came out? What, 2016?
2014.
2014?
No, Disney bought Star Wars in 2012.
2015.
It's 2015. Okay.
So
I say it was after that.
10 years after they brought it back. And the fact that there's still some sort of continuity.
Right.
And even between like the films, there's not a ton. And this is why, again, I say it's the best cinematic universe. Like, we look at it from the Skywalker saga perspective, it is a mess, especially the sequel trilogy.
1000%.
But like I hated the prequels before I really dove in and watched all the Clone Wars, like as a coherent adult.
Yeah.
And when I watch Clone Wars and you get more context behind what was happening, like I said, Clone Wars should have been what the prequels were. Like, you actually get to watch Anakin fall to the dark side, as opposed to him just like, I don't know,
being upset and then
like there's never an opportunity where I think that Anakin is truly good, because they only have time in a movie to show how he's falling to the dark side.
Right.
I feel like you don't get to see him be a true hero at all.
Which the Clone Wars did so good about.
Which that's like, that's what the Clone Wars was. And so I feel like the thing that makes Star Wars the best cinematic universe is the way that they've been able to take all these different mediums and all these different ways of telling stories and are using it to bridge gaps in between things that didn't make sense when George Lucas was in charge. And even like with the sequel trilogy, because the sequel trilogy, about a year ago, I wanted to challenge myself and like get better at like narrative editing, like post-production stuff. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to take the sequel trilogy and I'm going to make a super cut. And I gave myself like, I wanted to make it, it can't be longer than 4 hours. And like, I need to use clips from all three movies. Like, I wanted to make one movie that was just the sequel trilogy, but
made sense,
but not bad.
Yeah.
Like Palpatine, garbage, that's gone. Palpatine is dead. Vader killed him. He fulfilled the prophecy. He can't come back. Like, just, I took all the stuff like that. And so I started rewatching it, and I was making all these notes, and I was trying to make something, but it was impossible because there's no thread throughout them all. Like, everyone has every movie, there's different motivations.
Yeah.
There's different facts are true. Like, 2 + 2 = 4 in one movie, and then it equals 6 in another movie, and then it equals fish in the third movie. Like, there is zero like continuity throughout it all, and so I gave up.
Yeah.
But I feel like with some of the shows now, it almost seems like they are bridging those gaps and they're making it work. Like with Mando, I feel like that is very slowly building upon the clone that Palpatine is building and how Palpatine isn't actually like,
right.
It's creating more. And I feel like that is also kind of a problem. I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today where, he was like, the sequel trilogy is interesting. Like it's an interesting idea, but like you have to read and watch all this other stuff to be able to understand what's happening.
Right.
And that's no bueno.
Yeah.
I think
doesn't translate well on the screen.
Right. Like if I want to watch a trilogy, like I want to watch like the original trilogy where like it's 3 movies that work.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
As opposed to just 3. And I really want to know what Disney was thinking when they said, let's hire 2 different directors and let's not make them like sit down in a room and talk.
They weren't.
Like,
and I guess the only explanation is they just didn't.
And for as much as people, I don't know, this is a pretty controversial opinion of mine. For as much as people hate on Rian Johnson for like ruining Star Wars with The Last Jedi, I blame J.J. Abrams for not saying, okay, this is what happened, and for just rolling with it, and instead of trying to retcon it immediately.
Right.
I thought what Rian Johnson did was really interesting, and I was I used to really like The Last Jedi until they just undid everything. Because, like, I mean, everyone hates on Luke for being, like, anti-Jedi, but he's right. Like, the Jedi suck.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have balance in the Force if you're getting rid of the dark side. Like, that is the definition of not balance, when you are only allowing one side to exist.
Right.
Like, I think Rian Johnson, and the other thing is, like, with the universe, you have to make changes and you have to do things differently. With the MCU, for example, like the Infinity Saga, for the most part, is pretty grounded. Yeah. With, you have mortals, like you have Iron Man and Captain America, like people who there are stakes in anything, like they're just dudes. And now it seems like they're moving into a direction that's a lot darker, or not darker, but like there's more cosmic. Like we're exploring the multiverse now, and even like with the shows, like things are getting weird, like with WandaVision and Loki, and Moon Knight is very different. Hawkeye was
just fun.
Hawkeye was so much fun. And so I think the MCU is learning from Star Wars and is realizing that they need to make changes and keep things fresh. Right. I think that's what Rian Johnson was trying to do with Last Jedi, and it got enough backlash that
they decided to not go that direction.
And just the Rise of Skywalker was so bad.
Dude, is horrible.
I don't think I'll ever forget, like, because we went and saw it in IMAX, and like we walked out of the theater, it was just empty. It was just an empty feeling inside. Yeah. As opposed to like a few months earlier when we saw Endgame, and it was just pure satisfaction.
Dude, we were on a high for like weeks.
Endgame was nothing but satisfaction, and Rise of Skywalker was like this.
It's like 4 years. No, Infinity War was 4 years. 4 years ago today. That is we're recording. That's crazy.
That is crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I feel so. What could Star Wars do that would make you change your mind and say maybe this is like the better cinematic universe?
I don't know if there's anything specific they could do. Like they're definitely going in the right direction so far as like the shows and everything they're doing and like the content. Like for me, I think it is the content. Like I think kind of like what you're saying though, how Marvel's just been nonstop. Like I kind of like this side of Disney. Star Wars so far of how they're doing all the shows on Disney Plus now. They're getting they're getting content out pretty often. I like that. Cause then it just like, it doesn't feel like the old movies that I borrowed from my parents or something to watch that I didn't grow up with. Like I'm actually getting to, because like I saw Iron Man in theaters. Like I've watched every single movie. Like I grew up with that. I think that's why I'm a little more attached. And like now having that opportunity to go through this as it's coming out, I think is helping. But again, I just don't know if there's any major change that they could, nothing I'm specifically looking for, I guess, that would like change my views one way or another. I think Marvel still got it for me, unfortunately.
for as much as I love Marvel, I think I get more excited for Star Wars announcements. Like
I have recently, like when they announced the new movies, like which to be fair, they were.
I mean, I didn't really care about the sequel trilogy, but like,
right.
when I heard they're making an Ahsoka show, like,
yeah, I got really excited.
I was on the verge of tears. I was so excited because I love Ahsoka. Or like
when we saw her in Mando, like that was
dude.
insane.
I feel like
that was
so we lived together whenever like Mando season 2 came out. So we watched most of the episodes like together in the living room, and this was before you had watched Clone Wars. Right. So there were several times where I remember
stuff would happen. You're losing my mind. Out. I'm just sitting there like, this is cool. Like it is cool. Don't get me wrong. But
like,
you're
why aren't you excited?
Yeah, I just didn't know, man. Like I said, those animated shows are just
right. And I think that is one thing that where the MCU does have a one up on Marvel is for the most part, if you let's say you missed Black Widow, like
you're fine. You don't need to see it.
Who cares? I feel like with the direction Star Wars is going in now with building their universe, you have to watch everything. For sure. To fully appreciate it. Like even one of the biggest Star Wars, I work with one of the biggest Star Wars nerds that I know, and we were watching the Kenobi trailer, and the Inquisitor showed up. He's like, whoa, like who are those? Like they're Sith, and he refuses to watch the animated show, so he didn't understand who the Inquisitors were. And so we were all excited, like, oh, it's the Grand Inquisitor.
That's right.
But he didn't get it, and like I said, he's like one of the biggest like Star Wars fans that I know.
Not, man.
Yeah, so I mean,
that's crazy.
I
was in the same shoes like literally a year ago.
That's fair.
I can't really say much, but
I think the MCU for the most part is more forgiving.
Yeah.
As opposed to where I don't know, but I think
Star Wars, I feel like if you really want to appreciate everything it's giving and really understand everything it's giving, you got to get through everything it's giving. Like, because you're right. Like with Marvel, you can kind of like you can watch almost any movie just on its own. You have no problem whatsoever. Same thing with the shows too. You could also miss movies and shows out of the loop, and you're pretty well caught up or know an idea of what's going on. But yeah,
I think with Star Wars, you can watch the movies as one-offs.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, you can really watch anything.
I mean, you can. I think if you want the full effect, though, particularly with the shows right now, you need to have like
because the shows are really the only thing that gave us like a lot of like not detail necessarily, but like a lot more interest in like the story. Yeah, especially with the characters and like a lot of the newer characters that like some people see today. They've been around for a while. They've already been on screen. Like it's just on a show.
I think that was George Lucas's biggest problem was, as I was watching back through it all, like, and it boggles my mind that he was able to write like A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, which are two of the greatest movies of all time. Like A New Hope is a perfect story. Like you could teach a class on storytelling and only use A New Hope. Like it is literally perfect. And then Empire is the greatest sequel of all time. Right. It's one of the greatest plot twists of all time. And Return of the Jedi, I mean, it's not perfect. People don't like Ewoks, but like, Return of the Jedi was still really good. And like how he managed to create that. And then he had the prequels, which was just like a bunch of like random ideas of like, I wonder how like space politics would work.
But that's the thing also,
random fight scenes.
But like A New Hope and like Empire, like those were never made to be a trilogy, right? Those were never planned. It was never a planned trilogy, right?
No, so originally like A New Hope released as Star Wars, right? And it was successful.
Like I noticed on that poster too, because that's what reminded me. Because like that poster does not say Episode 1, does not say 4, doesn't say even A New Hope. It's just literally Star Wars,
right? Yeah. So it released as Star Wars, and then it got. I don't know all the history of it. There's a really great documentary. I think it's on Disney Plus now, called Empire of Dreams. That's about how they made the original trilogy. Name. And it's a solid name.
Yeah, they really do good on that.
I don't know. It's been a while since I've watched it, but I'm sure they talked about it. But I want to say that after Star Wars, they were just given, they greenlit another one. I think that's how that worked.
I don't know if I heard that. So like, I literally hope, like, I don't know. That's why
I know that it wasn't, I know that wasn't intended to be a trilogy. It was intended to be a one-off thing that.
But I think that's honestly what initially was like, same thing with like the sequel, like I think they just tried too hard to make it make sense. Same thing with, the prequels. Like you look at, they designed a trilogy. They had to come up with like their little space politics, their idea of how they can make all that fit into the movies they already have. Like, I think that's really what hurt them. Like, this is fun. this was straight fun. George Lucas pulled that out of nowhere and was like, dude, this is sick. Everyone's like, this is sick. Like,
I think the other issue too is that for the original trilogy, George Lucas had help. Like people were giving him advice, and then after the trilogy, like
he just kind of
George Lucas was the coolest guy.
Yeah,
George Lucas was like the Kevin Feige of his time. And when he made the prequels, he said, no, like I'm doing this by myself, and he wouldn't take any advice. But I mean, still, it's just, you did so good. Like, how did you forget how to do it? And even like
there was 30 years
and
in between.
You know it's good because when they did the sequel trilogy, JJ just hit copy paste on New Hope and made The Force Awakens, and like it's still held up. Like that's the number
still
one
made money.
That's the number one highest grossing film domestically of all time is The Force Awakens, and it's literally
that makes me want to die.
Why, you don't like The Force Awakens?
It was not my favorite movie. No, I mean I don't mind it,
but see, that's why I don't understand, because it's literally A New Hope.
Yeah,
it is.
I think that's what I don't like about it.
I guess it's just, I don't know. I think I don't mind The Force Awakens. I would sit down and watch that again. Would I just willingly? If I had cable and it was like on TV, like I would stop and I'd watch it. Would I do that for like The Last Jedi or for Rise of Skywalker?
Probably not. No.
Probably not.
Definitely not. Actually,
I would do it for Last Jedi if it were like that last like throne room lightsaber duel. That one was really cool.
That was dope.
I really like that fight sequence
with Rey and Kylo. That was
Rise of
cool.
Skywalker. I can't even remember most of that movie, and I can't think of anything that was particularly cool.
Yeah.
So it seems like Disney's moving away from like the movie side of things. They're really going full force into Star Wars shows.
Yeah.
And I mean, like we've said, like the shows are the things that I think are making Star Wars. I don't want to say great, but greater, maybe.
I mean, it's definitely not hurting it.
They're definitely not hurting it.
Yeah.
Like I can't think of a single Star Wars show that, other than like
Rebels, got some hate kind of at the beginning, but again,
other than like the Disney like kids shows that they like, I don't know. I think they did one for, I don't know what it was called. They did one for like the sequel trilogy that was a weird like 2D animation style. I don't remember. Like I think it was called Resistance. I don't know. And I've heard decent things about it, but like I feel like so far in terms of shows, they've knocked it out of the park. Like there's not a bad one. Like The Mandalorian is a cultural phenomenon. Like even my mom, who couldn't care less about Star Wars, like wants to watch The Mandalorian. Yes,
that's dope.
Like she was cool with us like turning it on, which
she just didn't leave the room.
Yes, which was like shocking.
Yeah.
Are there any like characters or shows that you would like to see them do in the future?
Right now, which I think they're gonna do, I'm just really banking on seeing like Ezra and Thrawn, like on like in real life, like on a show. Like I want to see a live action casting. Like
I want to see. I don't think he would do it, but I want to see Benedict Cumberbatch play.
Yeah,
Thrawn.
I've seen so many little fan edits and stuff of him. I don't think he would at all either.
I think
I don't know who else.
He's already Sherlock. He's already Doctor Strange.
He's already got some like iconic names under his belt.
Yeah,
I mean Thrawn's not like too far up there in like a well-known name, I mean, but when it comes to the fan base, they would lose their mind.
Just general pop culture, not right now. But if he was the main antagonist in a show, I think he would, and it was Benedict Cumberbatch who would knock it out of the park.
Yeah,
I think that would become a household
for sure
name. There's one show that I want, and it is the most ridiculous thing I've ever thought of, but
animated or live action?
It could be either, but I think live action make more sense. So in A New Hope, they like do it at the end, like doing like their call signs, and one of the pilots, his name is Porkins, and he's like a bigger guy, and like he gets shot, he dies or whatever, and it's like it's whatever. I want to see a show about Porkins and how
he became a pilot.
Everyone told him that he couldn't be a star pilot. He wasn't good enough to join the academy, and then he rose up through the ranks, and he helped destroy the Death Star. That's the show I want.
Never gonna do that. Unfortunately.
I don't know.
I could see that as like an animated short kind of a thing. Like I'm trying to think. I feel like I've seen just like, sometimes there's like that one weird character that you only know because of the shorts. Yeah. upbringing of his.
I'm excited for Kenobi because I've really wanted to see more like in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. I think what I really, really want to see, and Marvel did this with a comic run, is the gap between A New Hope and Empire. I don't remember how many years it is, but there's a significant gap in between those two, and like, when you're watching the movies, like like in Empire, they reference things that happened in between those two movies. I would really like to see
just kind of pick up and go with that
era explored a little more. And I mean, I don't know. The problem with that is you can't. A, Marvel's doing it with their comic series.
Right.
B, you can't have the original cast do that unless it was animated.
Yeah, or heavily CGI'd.
How would you feel if they did not like like live action CGI stuff, but if they did like a Clone Wars style show with the original
Clone
crew?
Wars or bad Clone Wars animation?
What do you mean bad Clone Wars animation?
Isn't there like that 2D style of animation for a second?
Oh, you mean like the Clone Wars like miniseries?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking of.
You don't like that?
I hated that style.
Really?
I hated that so much. Honestly, just because there was this kid that I used to know, and all he ever did his entire life, he would breathe air and draw those characters. I would go over to the house, just all on the wall, like just paper, just all these ugly. I was like, bro, this is like cursed. It was bad.
I liked it just because it showed the magical side of the Force before we got like. That was the first kind of experience with like the more magical side, because before then, like there's this mystical force that they used to like lift things and control people's minds. Where like that one, like it was so outrageous, the things that they could do that like, I don't know, it was, I thought,
interesting.
I thought they were fun. But how would you feel like if they did a good Clone Wars, as you call it, like CG, like animation kind of style show with the original crew?
I would love it. I don't think there'd be anything wrong with it. I'd be all for it.
Even if like obviously you can't have the same voice actors, it'd be different voices.
I mean, I don't think I'd mind it too much. I mean, obviously things are going to have to change. I mean, like not really change, but like actors are old. Some actors are unfortunately gone. So like there are things that are going to have to be changed up. And like, I mean, even the biggest thing, like it was in Boba Fett, right? We saw Luke, and like obviously that was not Mark Hamill's voice. That was not his face. There's nothing to do with that man. It looked really good with him. I mean, it was CGI'd well.
I mean, yeah, the technology now is insane.
It's crazy because it's like we'll never lose those characters, but something's always going to be slightly off, which like you just have to accept. Like I don't think there'd be any issues with it. Like it's understandable.
We're kind of going all over the place, but that like just gave me a thought of. What if the prequels are made today? Do you think that it would be better?
Because that's so much better. Oh my gosh!
Because at the time, like the prequels were revolutionary. Like just with the creating it literally entire sets and things.
Just all that
CG
green. I mean, it was all green screen pretty much. Right?
Yeah,
except for the few actors that were human.
Do you think that if they didn't have the technical limitations of their time, do you think the prequels could have been good?
For sure, 100%. I think they. Yeah,
I mean, obviously, like some of the writing in the story, like would need some work, but I think it would look.
I think, I mean, honestly, it would just look prettier. I don't think it would really be much better visually from like a visual standpoint. Sure, yeah, it would look dope. I mean, everything we get to watch, everything that they put in that movie would be done so like way better. But yeah, I mean, yeah, if you don't fix any writing, you don't fix any acting,
it would still be pretty bad.
It would still be unfortunate because you'd be like, man, they had such a good movie. If only they had good people that could act, it would just switch this time. It'd be like, man, they were still lacking here. So, I mean, yeah, if it just had better, right? Like all the actors, I love them, dude. Like, and here's the thing, the biggest thing we're about to see in Kenobi, like we're going to see Hayden Christensen come back and Ewan McGregor come back.
How do you feel? And obviously we haven't seen the show yet, and so we don't know how they're going to do it. But how do you feel about this whole like fight of the century with Vader and Obi-Wan going at it in this show? Because I have some issues with it.
I feel like I'm Like just like my expectations or like how I feel. Like honestly,
how do you feel about the fact that they're doing it?
The fact that they're doing it, I'm honestly like whatever about it. Like if it happens, great. If it didn't happen, like cool. Mm-hmm. I'm not expecting it, but also I don't want to like honestly expect much of anything to come out of it because I'm afraid we're going to be pretty disappointed. I don't have high hopes.
I don't want to say too much about it just because in a few weeks I might look back on this and like my opinion will be totally different. But I feel like their last duel was so epic in context because they hadn't seen each other since Obi-Wan left Anakin on Mustafar. And so I don't know.
Man, the fight was
I don't know how
the only way I could see a fight being is that YouTube video where those guys recreated the final battle, but like
I'm okay with something like that.
Like, cause that's all I want. It's like a battle with like just that type of action where it is a little more fast paced. It's a little more, you see force stuff being thrown, stuff being like used. Like, I think that would be a fun thing to see. I don't want it to be like,
if all they did was they updated the choreography,
like that's what I'm imagining.
And like filled in the gaps in between, like when we see that fight. I don't think they would just because it's two different actors. Like
that's true. Is Christian Haydenson playing? Will he be Darth Vader under that suit?
Yes.
Okay. I just didn't know if he was going like Anakin flashbacks, like if he's going to be something that we've seen.
Yeah. So I think we're also supposed to have some flashbacks.
Yeah, I expected that. Yeah.
That's why they're bringing Hayden Christian back.
Right.
The one scene that I really want in Kenobi that will like make that show amazing is there was a cut scene from. It wasn't cut from. So when the Clone Wars was on Cartoon before the Disney buyout, they were making Clone Wars, and they basically had like 2 seasons. They had the rest of the season that they were creating planned out. It would have been season 6. They had the rest of that figured out, and then they had 7 and 8 like. They at least had like arc titles and like they had descriptions and things. So they were working on a lot of stuff when Disney came in and said, you can finish what you're working on and that's it.
Right.
So season 6, like until Disney decided to fix their mistake and bring back the Clone Wars for a little bit, like it was the ending to that show was very disappointing just because it wasn't supposed to end. But like there's a scene from an episode they were working on where Obi-Wan and Anakin are camped out in like the middle of nowhere. And this is supposed to take place like right after Ahsoka leaves the Jedi Order. And Anakin's like stressed out and is in a mood and over it all and like feels like he failed. And Obi-Wan's like, it's fine, Anakin, like she's her own person. She made her decision. It's not your fault.
Right.
And Anakin says, well, what if I did that? Like, wouldn't you feel like a failure? And Obi-Wan is like, yeah, I guess you have a point.
Dang.
Like, I want that to be how the show starts. I want it to be that. And then at least have that in the show somewhere.
Bro.
I'd also like to explore, because I was watching Revenge of the Sith today, like, one of the things it's the first time I noticed was like, Obi-Wan obviously didn't, like, he told Yoda, he's like, let me go after Palpatine. Like, I can't kill Anakin. And Yoda's like, you have to. And then, so he slices his legs off and lets him burn. Obi-Wan could have ended Anakin's life right there and ended his suffering. It probably would have been like the more humane thing to do, but he couldn't bring himself to kill Anakin. So he left he left his best friend to suffer.
Yeah.
And then also cause Vader to like rise to power. Like, I would love the show to just explore like Obi-Wan dealing with the fact that he couldn't do that, because Obi-Wan is supposed to be like the perfect Jedi. Like that's his whole purpose in this universe, is to be like the Jesus type figure that's just perfect in every way. I would really I really hope that the show explores like,
I think the show will go deep.
His regrets and hopefully like him questioning like, how could I have done things better?
Do you think we would see, this would be sick. Do you think that they would have potentially, or maybe like reshot any animated scenes with the live action cast? So when they do a flashback to something like that, you think we'll see something like that?
I really hope so. I was hoping we would get that in Book of Boba Fett, because again, in one of the episodes that was scrapped halfway through production was a Boba Fett episode where he and Cad Bane had a duel like they did in the show.
Yeah.
And when they had their fight, Cad Bane shot his helmet, which is where like the
dent
iconic
came,
dent
right.
comes from, and Boba kills Bane. And I was really hoping that they would just do like a shot-for-shot remake of that in Boba Fett.
That final battle.
Yes, even if like as a flashback or something.
Right.
And instead they retconned it. And I was a little disappointed in Filoni for doing that.
I was too. Yeah, but that would have been so cool too. Because even if you are like, even if it's like literally a copy paste just with live action, you're not going to disappoint anyone.
Other than like hardcore fans like us, like most people don't even know those exist. Like
Right,
you have
but
to go search for those.
But here's the thing: it did well animated. Why would it not do well? Like what's the risk? Because even if someone doesn't know, but like for the hardcore fans, like we'd see that and be like, that just happened. Like that was crazy. But also like if no one's seen it, they'd be like, man, like this dent, like that's nuts. He got shot in the head and like, but he died. Like it would just be another scene, just like the first time we ever saw it. You know,
the one hope that I have is that it's because we aren't done with the animated, like that they think that there's still a hope that they can do it animated still. I don't think they're going to bring back Clone Wars. I think that
want it.
Like Siege of Mandalore is, in my opinion, the Siege of Mandalore is the perfect Star Wars story outside of the original trilogy.
For sure.
Just because, I mean, the original trilogy is like that is Star Wars.
Right.
But I think outside of that, I think the Siege of Mandalore is it's beautiful. It's just, it's everything that I ever could have wanted, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
So I don't need to bring Clone Wars back, but like they could do something with Bad Batch in some way. And they've already, I don't know, they've done Bad Batch was a really big surprise for me. I was expecting it to be really bad, especially after the first couple
There
of
aren't
episodes.
2 seasons of that, is there?
Not yet.
No. Okay, but there's a second season.
Yeah, they're making a second season right now. I don't know. The first few episodes of Bad Batch, only the first half of it was, it wasn't anything particularly exciting. But then, I don't know. That's
Bro, what was the stupid girl? My gosh.
Omega. Here's the thing. I get that she's supposed to have like an accent, but like, how does anyone know that her name is actually Omega? Because she's only ever introduced herself as Omega. Like
It is Omega, and we're just like,
because she'll like introduce someone and be like, "Hi, I'm Omega," and the other person will say, "Oh, hi, Omega." Like, wait, hold on. If I were in their shoes, I would have just assumed that her name was Omega. But I don't know. I am not. She is.
I wish that just had never happened on screen.
So here's another one up for just, I don't know, we got way off topic.
Yeah.
I don't know, fun conversation though, but like get back on like, you know, the cinematic universe topic. I think that's one thing that Star Wars has really struggled with is consistently producing really great stuff. Like we've been talking about how great the Clone Wars is. The last season of the Clone Wars, like people say, is amazing. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
The last 4 episodes,
Fantastic.
can't beat them. Top shelf stuff.
Yeah.
The first arc, the original Bad Batch, was about what I would expect, and then you had the Ahsoka arc. I don't even remember what it was called, with the 2 super annoying sisters that I like to pretend don't exist. Like, it was so awful. Like,
horrible.
It's the best season of the Clone Wars, but like,
is it though?
Yeah, like
I wouldn't say the best season.
It's tainted with just awful stuff, and I mean. It was needed to make the whole season work as a season.
Right.
Like Dave Filoni is a brilliant storyteller in that way, where like as a showrunner, like you can't always control individual episodes and how those are written, but you can control the overarching narrative.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things that Dave Filoni does perfectly. I think that's one of his like strong suits. So I understand why all 3 arcs were there, but like the Ahsoka arc was just so bad.
Yeah.
Whereas the MCU is even their bad stuff is still good. Like Thor: The Dark World is it's not a great movie.
Right.
I have no desire to ever watch it ever again, but like, it's not bad.
No.
It's still entertaining. Eternal is the same way. Like,
no, I hated Eternals.
Besides
doing like,
I think they made the mistake of they had all these characters. I think they had too many characters for one.
Yeah.
The other issue is they had all these other stories and these other characters that were way more interesting than like this weird romance that I didn't care about. Like I would have loved to see like a story around Druig and how like he's controlling people, or a story with like Athena and how like she's literally losing her mind.
Right.
Like those are cool stories. And we were just talking about some chick who is getting over a breakup with her. I don't know. That's
Superman.
Yeah, whatever. But like for the most part, like the Marvel shows are consistently at least good, whereas Star Wars is kind of, they have really, really high highs and really low lows.
Yeah.
And I think that's, so I don't know. I feel like I'm just convincing myself that I'm wrong in some regards. I still think that with the Filoni and Favreau team, I think the shows are in a good position. Boba Fett was a little disappointing.
Yeah.
I don't know. The one thing I always told people about that was like, when like he would ask me like, "What'd you think of the new episode?" And I'd say, as a solo individual episode, I thought it was fun, it was enjoyable. Right. But like as overall, like where the
season's
thing,
going, where it took it,
why is this happening?
Right.
I'm curious to see like when they do get back into movies, like Taika Waititi is working on something.
Dude,
apparently
he's insane. I'm excited for that.
I'm excited to see what that might look like.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think Star Wars they've had a lot of rough patches, but I think in 20, 50 years time, I think the fact that there are so many gaps and the fact that all of these different pieces of media are able to fill in everything and create like one massive universe, I think it will go down in history as the best cinematic universe of all time, even though it has a lot of catching up to do with the MCU.
That's fair. Because the MCU is definitely more of a present universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 50 years from now. Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see. Do you have any final thoughts?
Not much, man. I'm excited for the future, all the content that we're going to get coming out. But besides that, I mean, no, I have nothing against the universe. I love it. I do. It's up there.
For all the negative things we've said, we do love Star Wars.
We do love Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to see where things go from here.
Yeah.
I think there's a bright future, and I'm really excited to see all the stories and things that we are yet to experience in this world.
Yeah.
This has been the Popcorn Hangover. Follow us on all of the things. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, all at the Popcorn Hangover. It's super easy. So go check us out there. And you can follow Graham and I on Instagram and Twitter and all those things. Until next time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to come up with like an